Cool. We'll start now. So what you see on the screen, and I hope screen is visible to everyone, is a dashboard that is created using Google Ads MCP in Claude Cowork. So for the purpose of this session, we'll be using Cowork to demonstrate what all it can do, like different aspects it can take care of. And again, I will revisit this dashboard after I show you the prompts, etc. What was the process to build that and everything, right? And just let me just set some context on what all we are going to cover. Some of you had joined the previous session, but a very brief introduction. I'm Yash. I am running Warner Stack, which is into AI automation and marketing. Before that, I ran an agency, Gen by Medium, which was into performance marketing, SEO, and all other aspects. Worked some time with Ola, and also I have an edtech learning product as my own startup. This marketing and AI is my latest, you'd say, obsession that I'm working on, and that's what I'm going to share today as well. So basic thing about the MCP protocol. Again, this is something I covered in last session also, but MCP is how like your agents, or be it Claude or Codex, OpenAI, etc., they can talk to different systems. So you would find that every day, every tool, every new tool, be it related to advertising or video creation, etc., they are all sort of coming out with their MCP, because it is easier to work with MCP routing via Claude or other agents that you are using than directly calling the tools using APIs. And in many cases, those tools don't have APIs also. So a brief difference between Claude Code and Claude Cowork. Cowork is much more marketer-friendly, conversational UI. The dashboard that you were seeing on screen was made in Cowork. Even this presentation is as an artifact you are seeing within Cowork as well. Claude Code is more terminal-based. I spend most of my time on Claude Code, not on Cowork, but for the purpose of the presentation, I find it easier to work with Cowork. You can use both to call MCPs, but if you, let's say, you need to build some recurring skills and directly call APIs, etc., it is a bit easier to do it with Claude Code, because it can go much in depth and create those loops, etc. Now, coming to Google Ads MCP, again, I'm picking on some things we had covered in last session, which is not in too detail. But when we connected Meta MCP, it was done with a single URL that Meta provided. In case of Google, that's not the case. So Google has not officially come up with a URL that you can directly paste as a connector. You would find third-party tools doing that, but Google themselves have not officially shared a URL or something which you can directly connect as MCP in Claude. What they have done is they have shared a GitHub repo, right? So they have like created a GitHub repo where they have put all the files, etc., related to the Ads MCP, and it is something that you need to connect and create your own server. So for the purpose of this session or my general use cases, I've actually hosted it in Cloud Run, right? So if you see this link that is there, github.com/Google Ads/Google Ads MCP, if we go there, it will actually just be a GitHub repo where it has the code, etc., on how to install the MCP, but it's not a direct link that you can use. So the setup of Google Ads MCP is maybe a bit more technical than directly connecting a URL, which we had seen in case of Meta Ads MCP, right? Nevertheless, if you are using something like a Claude Code, etc., it is pretty easy to use. And I am more comfortable with the Google Cloud system, and also I actually hosted the repo on a Cloud Run URL, created that URL, and then use that URL to connect the MCP to my Claude system. We are not going to go too deep into this, because depending on the technical know-how, it could be difficult or very straightforward for some of you. But again, if you are using LLMs and Claude Code, it would be fairly simple to just use this link, tell it to install it, and it will give you an installable URL that will work. Just to deep dive into this and show how it looks like. So if you look at this customized part where I went, I hope my screen is changing and you can see the connectors. Can you see all the connectors on the screen? Can anyone, Salim, maybe you can just tell me yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now if we look at Meta MCP, this is the URL, right? Which is a Facebook URL, mcp.facebook.com/ads, which is used. In case of Google Ads MCP, you see this custom URL, which I have hosted on my Google Cloud, where as a Cloud Run URL, right? So it is not readily available, something that you need to install once. But once you do it, then rest of the process is pretty straightforward, right? So just so that was about the setup, right? So this is sort of how the GitHub repo looks like, and then you can just follow the instructions over here to do the setup. What we are going to do today is, first, we are going to just look at a dashboard and some analysis. We are also going to look at a quality score dashboard specifically, which is one of the campaigns of my own company. The data is not very huge, but it will serve the purpose of the presentation. And we will just look at maybe some of the queries, like what kind of chat you can run via MCP. So I'll go deep into that now. Right. So before I go to the prompt, etc., this is the output of a dashboard, which you can see, which was built using Claude. And this is all via just prompts. There is nothing, no coding or anything that was done. And I'll show you the prompts as well, right? So if, let's say, you want to create a very general summary, sort of the kind of reports that sometimes it takes hours to do. I know a lot of team members from GenY Medium are there. Every morning they have to send these reports out, and it becomes sometimes a lot delayed and to send out these reports, and maybe work 1-2 hours to just create these reports. All that can be like very easily automated with this MCP, where you can define what metrics you want to use, or takes its help also to define what metrics that you want to use, and it will provide you all the numbers there. Now, if you see, like there was specifically, I'd asked that what networks my ads are running on. It is showing me that it is in Google search partners, display network, where there's different split of cost, and it is flagging that also, that display content network is consuming this much spend, which ideally, if you're running search campaigns, it should not. But this is a framework that I've already told it, and so it is using that framework to flag this, right? It is giving me the cost per week, conversions that are there, the cost per conversion, right? And the impression share. For those who are maybe new to Google Ads, impression share is basically the percentage of times your ads are being shown compared to the competitors for those particular keywords, right? So it sort of gives you an idea what is the headroom, or are you underspending or overspending once you look at impression share. And are you losing impression share due to budget, or are you losing impression share due to rank? It could be that you are just have put a very low budget, and that's why you are losing, your ads are not showing enough. Or it could be because your ad rank was low, although the impressions were there, but it was maybe on the 4th rank, 5th rank, etc. And people are clicking more on the first 2 or so. And a weekly split of all these numbers that are there. Now, very easily, we can see that there's this cost per acquisition, where once it started, it was in the range of like 3,900. Then it went to a very low number, like 176 and 734. So what I will actually show in prompts is that I asked Claude that why did this happen, right? Can you analyze and tell me what were the reasons of this kind of fluctuation in this cost per result? And we will look at like what exactly Claude had said, right? So I'll just go to that chat history. Yeah, this one. Okay. So before the analysis, I will just briefly show you what were the prompts that were used to build that dashboard, right? So I just started with a very generic prompt, and intentionally I started with a generic prompt just to see that what are the kind of metrics it is suggesting. But if, let's say, you already have some defined business goals, you can very well start with that and give it a specific format in which you want the dashboard to be created, right? So it asked me a few questions. So these things that you see, it actually asked me as questions. So it asked me whether the focus is lead generation, is it only search campaigns? Do you want like an operator view or something like a client view, like what you want to show to a client versus what you actually want to analyze? And how comprehensive should it be? Should it be like some 50 metrics or maybe 10, 15 essentials? And based on the answers, then it gave me like what metrics I should be planning, like related to cost, impression, clicks, CTR, etc., and everything. What lead outcomes, quality, and trend, and all that, right? And and then it just said that if this is fine or any other metrics are required. So this is the part where I added that where I also want to see like how much money is actually being spent on search, because as these platforms are getting more programmatic, they sometimes switch on display, etc., natively, unless you switch it off, and it will show ads over there even if you have started a search campaign, right? And it mentions, yeah, that's a common budget leak, and so it added those metrics as well, right? And then there is some discussion that I had in terms of how we should display like a weekly trend, etc., and everything. As you would probably have a common meeting or a discussion with your team on what are the main metrics and dashboard that is required, right? And for the just this part was just for the demo because my campaigns ran only for a month, so I asked it to use that period only, right? And then it put all this data together and it created this artifact. So what that these dashboards are called artifact. So over here you see that it is showing the artifact and all. Now one thing, okay, this part I did not cover in the setup piece, but for setup the other two things that you need to do is, one is an MCC API token key. If you are familiar with Google Ads Manager and all, typically agencies or large companies also will have a manager account. So Ads Manager, if let's say you are running ads, creating a Google Ads Manager directly, you will not get an API token over there. You need to have an MCC account to create an API token, which I had already fed to the when I was doing the setup, but that is a prerequisite for it. So it is not as straightforward. Again, I think intentionally Google has made it a bit layered. It is not kept it everything open that anybody can do it. Only if you have an MCC account, which is like a manager account for other accounts, you are actually able to do it. And in MCC also, there are different levels of API access. One is an explorer access, there is a basic access, and then there is a standard access. And so what I'm writing over here is that I have an explorer access right now, which means that I can use only limited amount of tokens. So it should not like refresh every time. Only when I ask it, it should refresh so that it uses limited number of tokens. And there's process to apply for basic and standard access. As Google sees that you are using it properly and there are no errors, etc., in your usage, it will allow you to actually graduate to basic and standard access. But this is a bit of time-taking process. Sort of Google has maybe restricted it so that it is used, its APIs are used a bit more selectively and not very easily by everybody, right? So so yeah, so that was just on the API access, etc., which you will need when we if you are setting it up directly. And just some questions on where is data saved and all, right? So now here is the part where I ask the question. I can see that there is a big drop in cost per conversion from week 2 to week 3. Was the conversion goal changed or some settings changed that helped in achieving this kind of a decrease in cost per conversion? And although I know the reason what had happened at that point of time, but I just wanted to check like what exactly does Claude mention, right? And so initially it sort of tried to analyze impression share on budget lost impression share collapse from this to this, rank lost impression share, conversions, they increased from 2 to 20, right? And it could not see the exact change log of what had changed. But in terms of likely explanations, what it gave was smart bidding finished its learning phase, that there was a learning phase, and hence as soon as that was over, it improved. Second, a soft conversion action may have been added to optimizations at mid-Feb, that you might have added another conversion actions where, which means that the CPA actually did not decrease, but because you added more conversion actions, it is just giving you a perception that it decreased. And third, the conversion goal itself may have been changed, submit LP in coaching, etc. and all. So I was sort of not sat. I know that none of these were the actual reason why that drop had happened. So I was obviously not satisfied with its analysis. And then I asked that, okay, if you are like two of its recommendations were related to the conversion action. And those of you who are maybe new to Google Ads, conversion goals are basically, let's say there is a lead form submission that is defined as a conversion goal, or any other event that is in your user journey, you can define it as a conversion goal, and Google Ads tries to optimize based on that, right? And I know that there was no change that had happened in conversion goal at that point of time, right? So then I asked that, do you see anything apart from landing page coaching also be there in the campaigns? So it came back with that there is one page view website. So page view as a goal means that somebody just visited the page, right? And there are some non-biddable goals, these other indicators which are not optimized for. So its analysis was that your bidding strategy is maximize conversions, and a conversion here means a page view, which means that every time my page is getting visited, it is being counted as a lead. Now, I knew that this is not correct. The reason I'm going through this is because when you set these MCPs, etc., and you start interacting, it's not that there's something that I told in when doing meta also. It's again not a magic wand that it will tell you all the right things. What it is doing is that it is easily accessing your data in very natural language form, but at the same time, what frameworks to use or how much to do deep dive into that data, you will have to structure that. Good thing about it is that you can always ask it to save your frameworks in memory. So it's not that every time you are starting, it's starting afresh. If let's say you have a quality score framework or your conversion framework, that these are the things that you want to look at, you can set it in its memory so that it looks at that framework and then gives you suggestions, which is what like now organizations are building skills. And currently many of my projects are like that, like building these skills for other companies so that they don't have to like redo this again and again, and they can use those frameworks readily to use it. So so again, yeah, I just mentioned, yeah, that is incorrect. And I showed it some screenshots from actual Google Ads Manager, that what it is saying, that every time somebody is visiting bibli.education is not correct, because if we look in the goal, it is the detailed URL which has been added, not just bibli.education. And even if it were the case, the actual conversion were more on this event, which was submit LP coaching, which was getting fired by the backend. So then, of course, it accepted its mistake. I overreached, 2 corrections on what I said, that per your screenshot, this is the page and it is not a generic page. And your submit LP coaching is the maximum one where these events have happened. Now, just to give you a background, the actual reason why this conversion drop had happened was not related to the Google Ads setting, etc. It was some improvement that we had done on the landing page, right? Because of which people found it easier to actually navigate and just do the submission and all. So the conversion rate had drastically improved over there, right? So, but it is like, if let's say you are just going to a blank account and asking questions, these are the kind of confusions or directions it could lead you to, where you would need some marketing knowledge to actually like ask questions progressively and get to the right reason. And just to be safe, I asked that, was the exact conversion data not available to you, or did you just miss this? Right. So, and it mentioned that it just missed this, and then it's saved in memory, right? That next time I touch a Google Ads question, I'll pull the segmented data before drawing conclusions, not after you correct me, right? Then I asked another question. If you just remember the previous dashboard, there was a dip and then there was an increase in the cost per result. So I asked, why was there an increase in the cost per result, right? And then it fetched different data points and all. And it mentioned that week 4 had 0 lead form submits, because what we had done was we had discontinued using this event and we had shifted to the page view detailed event, which again was incorrect because the page view detailed event was also submitting lead form. So I just provided that information to Claude, and then it sort of revised its recommendation that there was a learning reset. This impression share rank climbed to 90% and everything, uh, which was maybe partially correct, but the main reason why this cost increase had happened was because we had switched off all display campaigns and continued strictly search. And search, if you have some background with Google Ads marketing, you would know search cost is always higher compared to display campaigns, right? So, and then I gave it some clues, so it figured it out. Now, but the idea for to take you guys through this was that uh, give it a more definitive framework to work with than very open-ended questions, because it can go in multiple directions and give you very wrong inferences also if you let it do that, right? I'll pause a bit over here, and before going to the another one, which is on quality score, maybe if there are some questions, etc., at this point, we'll would love to take that.
Hi Yash, this is Aseem.
Hey, hi. Yeah.
So, I mean, wanted to know if this Google MCP, like we can use it to analyze the data like you just showed, or can it also be used to, let's say, create ads or maybe optimize the ads, as in like the ad copies, ad creatives, etc.
Right. So unlike Meta, Google has kept it read only. Okay. So the official MCP, but there is a workaround. You can always use the Google Ads API directly and build a skill to do that, do those changes and all. But the GitHub repo that Google has released for its MCP is read only, which means that you can use it only to do audits, only to see inferences. You cannot actually make changes using that. The step forward in that is to use the APIs directly, but there, like I had mentioned earlier, Google will have their approval process. Like you will have to submit the PRD, etc., why you want to use those APIs and all, and accordingly it approves your access to make those changes.
Got it. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, or I'll move to the quality score part? Okay, so yeah, let me move to the quality score part. Now, I'm not sure of everybody's background with Google Ads, but can somebody just tell what is a quality score before we do the dashboard on that? Any marketer who runs campaigns? Anyone, guys? Or Okay. Sayan, why don't you do that?
Hi, Yash. So basically, quality score is how ad is relevant to us
Right.
and how. Yeah. So basically, quality score defines from 0 to 10. So the quality of per ad and how it is relevant to our uh, ad itself. So it's like expected CTR and what is our landing page experience and our ad relevance.
Right. So quality score is a term defined by Google, which is a way for Google to tell how our ads are doing. And there are three components that affect it. One is landing page relevance, second is ad relevance, and third is expected CTR. So ad relevance and expected CTR are sort of related, but the difference is ad relevance is based on more of like review of your ads, and expected CTR is based on a bit actual data. So sort of there is a loop that whatever is the actual CTR that is coming, that feeds into expected CTR. Now, this is in any Google search campaign. This is a very important concept because that becomes the premise of how much you are paying to Google, right? If your quality score is high, your the cost per bid that you are paying will be lower compared to if, let's say, you are running campaigns where quality score is low. So this is a regular optimization that all Google marketers do, right? Is to create or study this, at what is the current quality score and how do we. The benchmark is that it is more than 7. 5, 6 is okayish. Below 5 is sort of not acceptable, right? So, and what will happen is that for any new campaign, these quality scores will typically be on the lower end. So if you see, first of all, like creating this dashboard is pretty straightforward. You ask it to list down all the metrics related to quality score, and then it provides you the data, etc., and provides that. Now, this in a very simple glance, it gives you the quality score ranges that in 7 to 8 we have 4 keywords. In there are some 5 keywords with 6. There are 9 keywords with 5, 3 to 4 at 7, and all. And a lot of are at unscored, which means, and this is very true for any new campaign, because this campaign actually ran for a very less period. So once it starts, a lot of them will be unscored, and slowly Google scores them on the quality score. But this is a regular part that you do. Now, one key inference is, which it is flagging over here as well, that while on your ad part, there are some which are above average, some moderate, some doing poorly, landing page across the board, it is doing poorly. Now, I sort of know what the reason is. We were using a lovable landing page, and at that point of time, it did not have server-side rendering, so Google could not read the landing page at all, and which is why, like all landing pages, it is showing a red score. But these are the kind of insights that you would want to look at, and you would want to figure out from without having to like open Google Ads and just directly look into it over here. Then there are different metrics related to spend by quality score. How much are you spending on the good quality score keywords, which is minuscule. A lot of it is on the 5 to 6 range, and 1 to 4 range, there is some amount. A lot of it is also unscored, which might go to 5 to 6 depending on the performance, or higher as well. Then there are other metrics related to converting keywords, where it is about like these keywords, like which ones are actually giving me conversion, right? And then all keywords and what is the are the quality score, etc. So if I look at the chat of how what all did it tell, right? So initial part was just about like creating that artifact and the dashboard, etc. Very similar to the other dashboard that I showed you, right? Then it yeah. So here I ask it, can you share recommendations on next steps for improving quality score? And rightly it flagged that the first foremost thing is to fix the landing page experience, because that is showing red across all the keywords, right? And it is giving you steps also, audit core web vitals to figure out what the page insights are, and see if your headline in the ads is matching in your landing page or not. Trust signals above the fold, what is there in the first fold, one clear CTA. So these are general CRO practices or optimization practices that it is again recommending in terms of what you can do, right? The other thing, it is just highlighting that the campaign has not spent a lot. So a lot of your keywords are unscored. So you need to reactivate the campaign to get the scoring, and pause or rewrite some of the quality score equal to one keywords where we see English teacher or sales manager interview questions, telesales and all. So typically what happens is, if let's say the keyword and ad have a lower mismatch, maybe my ad was more about spoken English classes, then if somebody is actually searching for sales manager interview questions, then the quality score will be lower. Now, there are two ways to adapt it. One is like either I change the keyword or I change the ad to make it more specific to the sales interview process, right? But it was good to see at least this part, because it was more structured in terms of the questions that I asked. The kind of recommendations that it came up with were actually better than what we saw in the other analysis that we had done, right? So that's sort of the use cases that that you can see in terms of like general questions, etc., right? So if like if let's say you want to ask very basic questions that tell me about this campaign and all, it will pull that data and tell you all these numbers and all without you having to look at the dashboard. So you can just in very regular natural queries actually ask these questions and all, right? So broadly, that's what I had planned for sharing today, right? Happy to take any more questions that are there on this MCP. Okay, cool. So looks like either it was fairly clear or maybe things went overboard. Yeah, Krishna.
Yes, I have one question. So, in PMAX, a lot of time Google will not give us search terms and all. Most of the data is hidden from us. So, will Google MCP help us explore those areas?
So see, Google MCP can only look at data which it can route via APIs. So it does not have any like hidden access to something which is not available to you, right?
Okay, got it.
So all the data that you saw is sort of available to you in dashboard. It's just like more cumbersome to go through everything and like create all the reports and and all that. So it is going to base that on that. I think there was one more question in the initial form. Hope that answers your question, Krishna.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So there was one more question on that. Should we use API directly versus using MCP? Because some of the reports are that MCP sometimes takes a lot of context or tokens. So that is, to an extent, it is true. It is just the ease of use and how much you want to build. You can always like build with skills with APIs, right? You can do API calling and build like Claude Code skills and all to call those APIs and build this dashboard and all. My guess is just the time consumed in that and building the framework will be higher than what you would do if you are connecting an MCP directly. Now, depending on your prompts, you can still engineer to consume less tokens. So I don't see that as a limitation that sort of stopping you from using MCP. I think you need to worry about tokens only if you are running this at a very large scale. There, maybe directly, if you build skills using APIs, that will be better, but otherwise it should be fine.
So this is not a direct Google, the MCP that Google is giving us, right? So this is custom built from our side.
So the MCP code is being given by Google. So the GitHub repo that I showed you, right? So that is officially given by Google. What I have done is I've taken that repo and hosted it on the server. So like Meta is already hosting it and providing you a link URL. The hosting part is something that you need to do.
Understood. And what if the account is having so huge, like very huge accounts, like thousands of, like tens of thousands of keywords? Because there are certain accounts which has big campaigns, which has a lot of ad groups and a lot of keywords. So how
Yeah.
will manage with such accounts with the MCP tokens?
I don't think it will be a problem. The only thing you need to worry about is the API access that you have. So if it's a new MCC account, MCC again, if you refer back to what I shared about manager accounts and all,
Yes.
if you have lesser tokens over there, it could be a challenge. If not, I don't think once you get into that unlimited tier, it will not be a problem.
Hi, Yash. So
Yeah, hi.
while I'm not a marketer, so my question might sound naive, but I've seen even in Google Ads platform, Google suggests how to improve an ad quality, right? It gives steps. So, uh, so this like the Claude MCP, if we use this, then do you think it would give us better suggestions than what is given by Google?
Yeah, so see, Google, the suggestions, and I'm telling you with experience and practice, many of those are very standard rules without looking at the context of your account. Right, so it will, so for example, it will always tell you to run campaigns on maximize conversion. Okay, or it will say that you have not switch on everything in PMax. So there is a general tendency where Google and Meta also does that. Both platforms, they want to keep more control towards themselves, get more data and optimize directly without us managing a lot of things. It sometimes it works wonderfully if you have a lot of data, sometimes it does not, and it requires some frameworks. Like, for example, what I showed you now, there are some 10 different things related to search term analysis, etc., and everything. Once you put those frameworks and give that to Claude, it will give you much better recommendations than what it Google Ads tool naturally gives you. Because, and there are like many marketers on this call, and you'll ask me, we'll probably accept maybe 50% of the recommendations that Google Ads tool gives. Others, we decide maybe to defer it or not use it on XYZ reasons, right? Those XYZ reasons, Claude, etc., and LLM will have a better context to understand that and accordingly give you suggestions.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, if there are no more questions, one last thing that I just wanted to share is about a course that I am starting this Saturday, which is on like setting up these MCPs and actually building your automations if you are managing campaigns, etc. So the sessions over there, there are like 4 Saturday sessions in that course, where it is going to be first just about foundations of Claude Code and setting up a general Google MCP, not the ads one, on how to, so that we get familiar more with MCP and all. Session 2 will be setting up Meta Google Ads MCP using Google Workspace and Meta accounts. Third, on automating your reports. And fourth will be building your own audit skill. And so there are now 2 seats left. Sort of the cohort is already, it's showing 3, but there are like only 2 seats left now. So in case you want to still join the course based on what you're hearing, and do ping me, happy to chat about it and tell you more about the course. Right. That's it. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. Right. And we'll close